This healthy bedtime snack may be locking belly fat in place and ruining your sleep. Most people hear the words healthy snack and stop asking questions. If it is dark chocolate, they think antioxidants, heart health flavonols, a smarter dessert. And to be fair, that health halo did not come out of nowhere. Harvard Health and the American Heart Association both note that dark chocolate is often promoted for its flavonoids and possible cardiovascular benefits. But this is where the story changes. The best fit snack for this title is dark chocolate at bedtime. Not because dark chocolate is poison, not because one square ruins your metabolism, but because it combines three things people underestimate. It is still calorie dense, it is often eaten late, and it contains stimulants that can work against sleep. Harvard's sleep guidance explicitly says that if you do have a snack before bed, chocolate should not be part of it, because chocolate contains caffeine, which is a stimulant. And this is why the title works better than people expect. The medically honest version is not that dark chocolate magically locks belly fat in place by itself. It is that a nightly dark chocolate habit close to bed can keep feeding the exact pattern that makes belly fat harder to lose. Late calorie intake, poorer sleep, and repeated metabolic stress in the evening. Research summarized by Harvard Health found that eating later in the day increased hunger, reduced calorie burning, and promoted fat storage. Other research links eating closer to bedtime with higher body fat over time. Here is the practical takeaway early. If you want one healthy bedtime snack to question first, make it dark chocolate, especially if it is becoming a nightly habit, if you eat it close to sleep, or if it is really more than just one square. A few pieces can quietly become a dessert ritual that feels small, but is metabolically louder than people think. And Sleep Foundation's guidance on bedtime snacks specifically says to be mindful of sugary or caffeinated foods before bed. Now let's talk about why. The first problem is the health halo. Dark chocolate gets treated differently from other snacks because people hear the word dark and assume it has almost no downside. But even favorable coverage from Harvard points out that dark chocolate is still high in calories and saturated fat. NIH's News in Health also notes that dark chocolate is widely promoted for health benefits, but that the story is more complicated than people think. So the issue is not that dark chocolate has zero redeeming qualities. The issue is that people let those qualities blind them to timing, portion size, and sleep effects. The second problem is the timing. This is where people get fooled fastest. A food can be reasonable in one time slot and a bad fit in another. Late evening eating is not always harmful in every person, but the evidence is strong enough to say timing matters. Sleep Foundation notes that late night eating is a more complex story than people once thought. Yet it still warns that eating too close to bedtime may contribute to weight gain and worse sleep in some people. Harvard's late eating summary goes further, showing that later eating increased hunger, decreased calorie burning, and promoted fat storage. That is a bad combination if the snack is already easy to overeat. And this is why dark chocolate is such a clever trap. It is not just candy in people's minds, it is a smart reward, a sophisticated treat, a tiny wellness indulgence. So they eat it later than they would eat other sweets, and they feel less guilty doing it. But the body does not really care about the branding. If calories keep landing late, the body still has to deal with them late. And human studies highlighted by Harvard suggest that late eating changes hunger, energy expenditure, and fat storage biology in the wrong direction. The third problem is the one most people miss completely. Dark chocolate contains stimulants. Harvard's sleep advice is very direct that chocolate contains caffeine and is not a great pre-bed snack. Sleep Foundation also says caffeinated foods and drinks can negatively impact sleep and recommends avoiding caffeine too close to bedtime. On top of that, research reviews show that dark chocolate contains not only caffeine but also theobromine, another stimulant-like methylxanthine compound. Published analyses put dark chocolate at roughly 25-35 milligrams of caffeine and 200-300 milligrams of theobromine per 40 grams in some products. That sounds small until you remember two things. First, bedtime is the one time of day when even modest stimulation matters more. Second, people do not always stop at one tiny square. A healthy portion can quietly turn into several pieces while watching TV, answering messages, or winding down. And research on caffeine timing shows that caffeine taken too close to bedtime can disrupt sleep, with the effect getting stronger the closer it is consumed to bed. This is where the belly fat part of the title starts making more sense. It is not only the calories in the chocolate, it is the sleep disruption that follows. Poor sleep itself is linked to weight gain and obesity risk. And Sleep Foundation notes that insufficient sleep can make people exercise less and is one of the risk factors for obesity. So when a bedtime snack both adds late calories and makes sleep worse, it hits the problem from two directions at once. Now I want to be careful here. Not every bedtime snack is bad, and not everyone needs to stop eating before bed entirely. Sleep Foundation's review says some small nutrient-dense bedtime snacks may actually help in some situations. It even lists plain yogurt, fruit, nuts, and similar balanced options as possible better choices. The point of this title is not never eat at night again. The point is that dark chocolate is one of the worst foods to misclassify as an ideal sleep snack because it looks healthy while still carrying bedtime liabilities. And this is the part most people never hear. The downside is often not dramatic enough to set off alarms. You do not always lie awake all night and think, that chocolate did it. Sometimes you just sleep a little lighter, wake once more, feel less rested, crave more the next day, stay a little hungrier, move a little less, then repeat the snack again the next night because it felt harmless. That is how an ordinary healthy ritual becomes a stubborn metabolic pattern. The late eating and sleep literature is full of exactly this kind of slow cumulative problem rather than one catastrophic event. There is another layer here too. Many people do not eat dark chocolate completely plain. It comes with almonds, sea salt, caramel, dried fruit, nut butter filling, or healthy clusters and bark. Now the snack is even more energy dense, often more sugary, and even easier to underestimate. Sleep Foundation warns that sugary bedtime foods may contribute to worse sleep, and Harvard points out that dark chocolate is still calorie dense even when it contains beneficial compounds. So if I were translating this title into the most medically honest version possible, it would sound like this. Dark chocolate is often marketed as a healthy dessert, but eaten close to bedtime it can become a bad sleep snack because it still delivers late calories and contains stimulants like caffeine and theobromine, and over time that combination may make belly fat harder to lose. What should replace it? Not fear, not a joyless life, just better timing and better snack logic. If you want dark chocolate, have it earlier. If you want a bedtime snack, choose something smaller, simpler, and less stimulating. Harvard suggests a modest snack like an apple with cheese or a few whole grain crackers if you are actually hungry before bed. Sleep Foundation also points toward options like plain yogurt, fruit, nuts, and other lower sugar, non-caffeinated snacks. So if I had to reduce this whole script to one line, it would be this. The problem may not be that your bedtime snack looks unhealthy. The problem may be that your healthy dark chocolate habit is arriving too late to help your waistline and too stimulated to help your sleep.